Good evening. I would like to call the Township of Wainfleet regular council meeting of May 10th, 2022 to order. And I'll ask everybody to stand for the national anthem, please. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples, acknowledging the One Bowl and Spoon Treaty. Now look to the councillors for any disclosure of pecuniary interest, general nature thereof. I see none. Okay, move down to the mayor's announcements and remarks. And this is, I'm going to read this is for the National Day of Mourning Proclamation, which was April 28th. Whereas in 1984, the Canadian Labour Congress established April 28th as the National Day of Mourning in Canada to remember and honor those who have died, been injured, or suffered illness in the workplace. And whereas the National Day of Mourning, also known as Workers' Memorial Day, is officially recognized in 100 countries worldwide. And whereas the most recent statistics from the Association of Workers' Compensation Boards of Canada tell us that in 2018, 1,027 workplace fatalities were recorded in Canada, an increase of 76 from previous years. And whereas the Township of Wainfleet is committed to providing and maintaining safe and healthy work environments for all by improving health and safety standards in the workplace in order to prevent further deaths, injuries, and disease from work. Now therefore it be resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Wainfleet hereby proclaims April 28th, 2022 as National Day of Mourning. And that is a proclaimed proclamation. Other mayor's remarks. Please note that meeting proceedings are being broadcast, recorded, and made available through the Township website and youtube.com. I was recently appointed to the Board of Directors of the Ontario Association of Police Services, representing Zone 4 Halton region, which also includes Niagara and Norfolk. The Historical Society held a plaque unveiling last Friday at the Wainfleet Bog to commemorate the World War II prisoner of war camp. I attended, as did Councillor Cridlin. There were approximately 40 people there. It was an amazing turnout, and it was an excellent unveiling of that plaque. And the next day, my wife and I went for a walk in the bog just to check it all out, to go. It was very good. The next vaccination clinic will be held at the Firefighters Community Hall on May 14th from 10 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Police Services Board will meet Thursday, May 19th at 8:30 a.m. Regional Council meets virtually later that day at 6:30. And our next regular meeting of council will be held Tuesday, May 31st at 7 p.m. here in our chambers. Are there any councillor announcements or remarks? Councillor Cridlin.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. The next full authority meeting for the MPCA board will be Friday, May 20th at 9:30. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments from councillors? Okay, seeing none. We now move on to the adoption of the previous council minutes. Any comments or corrections on those? Okay, we make a motion that the minutes of the meeting of council held April 5th and 8th, 2022 be adopted as circulated. Need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Gilmore, Councillor McClellan. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. We now move over to our delegations. We have Yar Didich here from Family and Children Services, FACS, Niagara Foundation, to make a presentation respecting a request to proclaim Sunday, June the 12th, 2022 as Mountain View Lemonade Day. Yar, you have 10 minutes to make your presentation to council, and will be followed up by an opportunity for council to ask you questions. So the floor is yours, sir. Welcome.
Thank you, and just in time.
Okay, we can't hear you. Just a second. A little technical issue here. We'll see if we can get it resolved. Okay, try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Just in time, because we couldn't hear you either until just a minute ago. So thank you for having me, and I'm here with Brittany from FACS Niagara as well, that will be running our presentation and also to assist me in answering any questions that you may have. So my name is Yarda Duke, and I'm here today to share some exciting news about an event that FACS Niagara Foundation, in partnership with Mountain View Building Group, is going to be putting on. I sit on the FACS Niagara Foundation board, and this event that we're bringing to you today is a great way for kids in the Township of Wainfleet to give back to their community and support other kids just like themselves. So I think we have our screen shared here for the slide presentation, if everybody can see that.
Yes, it's good.
Okay, great. Thank you. So Mountain View Lemonade Day will take place on Sunday, June 12th, 2022 across the Niagara region. It will be a community-driven event with the goal of raising funds to support kids attending summer camps. So we have a short video that we'd like to share with you about Lemonade Day.
So a couple years ago, my sister and I started a lemonade stand, and it was just all about we wanted to raise money. And then we got the idea that the money should go to sending a kid to camp.
Hi, I'm Caroline Paul-Grabier, President of the FACS Foundation Board. Every day we work with the FACS agency and the hard work that they do to bring great quality services and programs to the children across the Niagara region. For the past 2 years, COVID has taken a toll on every family, and no more so than the families that we serve at FACS. Summer camps give great lifelong memories, but most importantly, it helps build social skills and self-confidence.
Hi, I'm Mark Bassiano with the Mountain View Building Group, and I'm honored and excited to be here today as a partner with Family and Children Services to aid them in their crucial role as they protect children and strengthen families throughout our region. We're really excited to be part of this new initiative, which is really aimed to engage families, particularly young people, to get involved, create awareness in our communities, raise badly needed dollars, and to have some fun along the way. I really want to encourage you to get involved and do your part.
In 2022, our goal is to have 100 stands, and every stand to raise $1,000. It's a big, big goal, but we know we can do it. $100,000 is going to create 400 plus big smiles next summer. We hope you'll help us out.
On Sunday, June 12th, my sister and I will be hosting Mountain View Lemonade Stand. Please help us and proclaim Sunday, June 12th as Mountain View Lemonade Day.
I want to thank you in advance for all your support in something that truly will make a material difference in so many lives across the Niagara region. Please join us on Sunday, June 12th for Mountain View Lemonade Day. Cheers, guys.
So because of the generous sponsors like Mountain View, all the funds raised will 100% be used to send vulnerable children and youth to Summer Smiles camps this July and August. After 2 years of a pandemic, these kids really need a positive experience that camps can offer more than ever now. So the goal, as you heard, Mountain View Lemonade Day is to have 100 lemonade stands across the Niagara region in every city and town. Each lemonade stand will consist of a team of 4 kids who will receive a lemonade stand and banner, shirts and hats, and all supplies needed to make the lemonade. All proceeds that the kids raise from the lemonade donations will go directly to sponsoring the kids who are supported by FACS Niagara to attend summer camp this year. We have proposed the following lemonade stands per municipality based on population density. So you can see there where Wainfleet is. And of course, if there's only 2 on this map, but if there's going to be more, then of course we would definitely welcome more. But it's just kind of a goal of where we got the 100 stands that we'd like to get. So with that all being said, we'd like to ask the Township of Wainfleet to please proclaim Sunday, June 12th as Mountain View Lemonade Day. Thank you for all of your support for this event, and we welcome any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. That's a terrific, positive thing to be doing for Niagara. Are there any questions of our presenter from any of the councillors? Councillor Cridlin.
Thank you, through you, Mayor, and again, thank you for the presentation. Is this the first time we've had the lemonade? Like, this is a kind of a great breakout, obviously, from 2 years. So is this the first time that we will have been proclaiming it? Thanks.
Yes, this is the inaugural event. We got the inspiration actually from an event in Edmonton where they did a lemonade day to raise funds for charity. So that's kind of where it comes from. But our first one, yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McClellan.
So the children, how do they get in touch if they want to put a stand up? Is that through the school system, or how does that work?
It's all through the website. There's a link on our website at FACS Niagara, and yeah, so it takes you exactly to the link. And I actually set up my team today, so I can tell you it's pretty easy to set up, and the children can do it with the help of their parents. Name their team, invite everybody with their link to either donate to their page or come out that day. And
oh, we lost you there just at the end, Yar.
Support by buying some lemonade.
There we go. Okay.
Oh, yeah. There's a link that takes you to the page too, so you'll be able to send out your link to anybody that wants to participate, either by donating to your team's page or by showing up to your location and buying the lemonade there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'm going to motion that the delegation presentation from Yar Deduch from FACS Niagara Foundation respecting proclaiming June 12th, 2022 as Mountain View Lemonade Day be supported, and that Wainfleet proclaim that day as Mountain View Lemonade Day. Mover, seconder for that, Councillor Cridlin, Councillor Van Vliet. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Good presentation, great cause. I can't wait to find one of these stands on that day and buy some lemonade. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, council members.
Thanks so much.
Okay, we move on to number 8, staff reports and recommendations, admin staff report, property tax rates. Ms. Louis, that is for you to speak to, please.
Thank you. So through the mayor to all of council, administrative staff report 12 is a routine staff report for council to consider and adopt the 2022 final tax rates. So the final tax rate includes the municipal rate, which is derived based on the final budget, which was approved earlier this year. It also includes the regional and waste management levy component and the educational component. So the approval of this staff report and bylaw will give township staff the authority to bill out the final 2022 tax bills.
Okay, thank you. So the prospective motion is that ASR 12-2022 be received and that council consider the bylaw attached to this report as Appendix A to provide for final property tax rates for the 2022 taxation year at the May 10th, 2022 regular meeting of council. Mover seconder to put it on the floor, Councillor McClellan, Councillor Cridlin, and discussion. Okay, seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? None. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Louis. Moving on to bylaw enforcement staff reports, and we'll look to Mr. Tardif to speak to that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To you and all of council, this memo is just to just like council know that with the summer approaching, we are going to be having a summer parking officer again that will assist us in parking matters throughout the week, weekends, holidays, and into the evenings. This officer will also help out with other bylaw enforcement matters such as noise, nuisances, and those types of matters in some of our problem areas. So this is an ongoing initiative that the township does every summer, and we're just there's a bylaw attached for appointing our new summer bylaw officer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Potential motion being that the memorandum from the bylaw enforcement officer respecting summer municipal bylaw enforcement officer be received as information. A mover seconder for that, please. Councillor McClellan, Councillor Van Vliet. And is there any discussion? Questions to our bylaw officer? Councillor Gilmore.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just wondering, has the person been recruited since it's already May?
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Gilmore. Excuse me. Yes, we have an officer. She's already started. We're just waiting for the appointment.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Community and Development Services draft on the short-term rental bylaw. Comments. Ms. Earl, would you like to start speaking to that, please?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. In its current draft form, the bylaw will make licensing short-term rentals mandatory. It aims to ensure compliance with the fire code, the building code, and other applicable law and township bylaws. It also establishes a system of demerit points for violations including noise, nuisance, parking, and safety, which will encourage short-term rental owners into supplying a safe, responsible, and respectful accommodation. Further changes to the draft bylaw will be required prior to preparing the application package and program for the short-term rentals based on our discussion here this evening. This report serves as an additional step in drafting the short-term rental bylaw and licensing program. After hosting a virtual public open house and receiving numerous written public comments, staff wish to provide council with a summary of those comments, which have been grouped into the following themes: the license application, definitions, limiting the number of occupants, timing for rentals, inspections for fire, water, and septic, administration, and compliance and enforcement. Staff are looking to council to provide direction on the following. Number 1, support for annual application and renewals. As the renewal process will not be as onerous as the initial applications are, staff request that council consider amending the draft bylaw to require applications be made annually and not biannually as originally proposed. Number 2, identify the number of occupants. The draft short-term rental definition states that STRs shall have an occupancy of a limit of 2 persons per bedroom. Based on the public comments received and discussions with our chief building official, staff recommend that council consider amending the draft bylaw to permit 2 people per room plus an additional 2 people. With the inclusion of the new bedroom definition, lofts, dens, pull-out couches will not be considered as bedrooms. Number 3, permitting guests and timing. As non-occupying guests and visitors were not considered in the draft bylaw, staff recommend that council consider amending the draft bylaw to include non-occupying guests be permitted on the properties but not remain past 11 p.m. each day. And number 4, application fees. Licensing short-term rentals will allow for the collection of fees to offset some of the costs of administration of the licensing the program. However, the program will significantly increase the administrative staff time and resources needed to monitor and regulate, including multiple departments such as planning, building, bylaw, and fire, reviewing and processing the applications, as well as enforcement through conducting inspections and investigating complaints. Currently, we do not have the staff resources to implement and enforce the proposed licensing bylaw program. A new full-time position will be needed, and this would be created in the bylaw division to be responsible for the administration, inspection, and enforcement of the STR program. The position would have alternate work hours, such as afternoons, evenings, weekends, and holidays during the peak season. In an effort to offset the cost of the additional staff person, an annual recommendation fee schedule was proposed in the report, and that would be $750 for a 1 to 2 bedroom rental and $1,000 for a rental consisting of 3 or more bedrooms. As further changes to the draft bylaw are required prior to preparing the application package and program for STRs, staff are expecting to have a revised draft bylaw along with a complete application package including the application forms, templates, and checklists, all necessary for the implementation of the program to be made available at a future council meeting, during which staff will have a better idea of timing for the program initiation and start date, including the need for securing additional staff resources. It's important to note that implementing a program of this nature is a lengthy process, and staff are taking all reasonable steps necessary to ensure a streamlined process for the new program. So with that, staff are looking to council to provide their comments at this time or discussions on alternative directions to staff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Earl, and I'm going to look to Councillor Van Vliet.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I would like to move into closed session and get advice from our lawyer on this.
Okay, for that we'll have to forego our bylaws. You can read that, please. Thank you.
So the motion being that council now move into closed session to discuss item under section 234-2F of the Municipal Act 2001, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. One item, advice respecting draft short-term rental bylaw.
Mover seconder for that, please. Councillor McClellan, Councillor Van Vliet. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. We'll now move into closed session for this purpose. Okay, we're back from closed session, and I'll ask our clerk to rise and report on that closed session, please.
So council met in closed session to receive advice from the township solicitor respecting the draft short-term rental bylaw.
Okay, thank you. And I would like to thank our solicitor for all that valuable input that she provided to us. So bearing in mind the confidentiality of the information that was discussed in our closed session with the solicitor, are there any discussions or questions on our short-term rental that anybody would like to discuss at this time? Councillor Cridlin.
Thank you, through Mayor. Could you please just remind us then if there's a motion that was from the report, as I think we left with where Ms. Earl had provided her report, and so maybe just pick up where we had those motions, and then we can decide where we want to go from there, if that's possible. Okay, certainly. There was a proposed motion that the Community and Development Service Staff Report CDS 002-2022 be received, and that a revised draft short-term rental bylaw be presented to Council for adoption at the next available meeting for consideration. That is a proposed motion that I have in front of me. Can mover seconder for that, please? Councillor McClellan and Councillor Van Vliet. Is there any discussion on that? Councillor Gilmore.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, in the report on page 4, and Ms. Earl referred to it in her opening statement, that she's looking for direction on at least 4 items. So I don't know if we want to talk about that direction now, or in light of the fact that that this whole process isn't going to come into effect possibly for quite a number of months, whether we just consider dealing with some of the other problems that we've already experienced and try to deal with that in the short term, rather than even dwelling on any of these. I mean, Ms. Earl can certainly respond whether you want any further direction on these items now, or because it's out there, it's going to be out there for a while, do we just deal with our short-term problems? I mean, I'm happy to discuss some of your comments on the 4 points, if you wish.
Okay, Ms. Earl.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Council, we are open, staff are open to council direction if you want us to move forward with continuing drafting the bylaw as presented, making those amendments and working through the program. Alternatively, if there's another direction that council would like to seek first, then we can work on that as well. So I look to you, council.
Okay, so input. Do you want to discuss those options now, or do you want to just refer it back to staff? And I think we should talk about it. Councillor McClellan.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in lieu of what we just learned in closed, I think at this point we should just let it sit for a little bit and let us all kind of stew on what we were just enlightened upon, and maybe at the next meeting we'll have some better direction or some better thoughts on this. It was a lot of information in a short amount of time.
Okay, so you're Councillor Cridlin.
Thank you for the floor. So then I'd just make an amendment. So we've got the first part of that motion to receive, and then amend it to where, like Councillor McClellan said, we could defer the rest of that discussion to a future meeting as soon as it's reasonable. So that would be my amendment for that report.
Okay, so it's a deferral motion by Councillor McClellan. And that'll be for a future meeting when it's prepared. So you're making that motion, Councillor McClellan? Okay, seconder for that. Councillor Gilmore, any discussion? Yeah, it's not debatable. Right. Okay, that's not debatable. So, the vote, all in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. Next meeting, John, or Councillor McCall? Okay. Can't talk about it, it's deferred.
So may I just make a point of, point of privilege, or then what
Yeah,
I would need to
clarification.
do?
Go ahead.
So that was just the report, but then there's still an urgent need for dealing with the issues, because we know that this is going to be a longer process. So I would just, what's the way now to bring forward some other methods for, I'm seeing some advice for.
I know there's a notice of motion coming
Thank
later in the meeting that I think will deal with some of the issues that we're probably talking about.
Thank you, Mayor.
I don't want to get ahead of the person making those notices of motion. Okay, let's move on then. Drainage staff reports. Drain improvement, Chambers Corner drain extension. We'll look to Mr. Jemison, our drainage superintendent, to speak to that, please.
Great. Good evening. Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor, to all of council. So drainage staff report number 3 for the year is in response to a request for drain improvement on the Chambers Corner drain extension. So this municipal drain was created last year to facilitate the drainage at the Central Fire Station facility. The main impacted property owner has requested that the open ditch that was originally designed be enclosed to make a tile system. So through the Drainage Act process, this type of project has to be completed as an improvement project, which is sanctioned by council. So there will be no increased costs to the township for this type of improvement, and the construction timelines should not impact anything else going on at the Central Fire Station facility. I'd be happy to take any other questions.
Okay, any immediate questions to our superintendent? Okay, seeing none, potential motion being that drainage staff report 003-2022 regarding a request for a drain improvement Chambers Corner drain extension be received as information, and that council accept the request for drain improvement and authorize staff to prepare and distribute the necessary notices in accordance with section 78(1) of the Drainage Act, and that council appoint Sprite Associates Engineering under the Drainage Act to improve the Chambers Corner drain extension. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Gilmore, Councillor McClellan. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Another drainage issue, petition for drainage works for the new house drain, and I'll look for Mr. Jemison to speak to that as well, please.
Great. Thank you. Through you again, Mr. Mayor, to all of council. So staff report, drainage staff report number 4 is in response to a petition that was submitted to the township under section 4 of the Drainage Act, which would create a new municipal drain. So this new municipal drain, which was being called the new house drain, would formalize an existing ditch in the area of Highway 3, Perry, and Wills Road, and it provides drainage outlet for a greenhouse operation. The existing ditch travels under Highway 3 through a culvert and makes its way to the Big Forks drain. The petitioner has maintained that existing ditch privately for many years and is looking for a long-term solution, which could be accomplished through this petition process for a municipal drain. So as identified in the flowchart on attachment 3, there's numerous opportunities for public consultation for all of those within the drainage area. And the first step of the process is to appoint an engineer to evaluate the petition and get the process started. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Motion being drainage staff report 004-2022 regarding a petition for drainage works, new house drain, be received as information, and that council accept the petition for drainage works and authorize staff to prepare and distribute the necessary notices in accordance with section 5(1) of the Drainage Act, and that council appoint Sprite Associates Engineering under the Drainage Act to facilitate the new house drain. Mover and a seconder for that, please. Councillor McClellan and Councillor Gilmore. Is there any discussion? Councillor Van Vliet.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mark. Sorry, Mark, I should have mentioned this earlier. Would it be easier to take that south to the East Kelly drain rather than going under the highway?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, all of the existing tile operations or tile drainage that has been installed for that property go north to that highway culvert. The bulk of the agricultural open fields, I do believe, are tiled south to the East Kelly Drain, but this is mainly for the operations that are closer to the highway.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Fire staff report. And I'll look to the chief for that, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The report I have before you is the first quarter review for 2022. In it, I highlight some of the administrative activities and events that has gone on with the fire department. We've highlighted some human resource changes, some health and safety items, the recruitment process that's going on to date. We also go through and highlight some of the public education and prevention items that have gone on. Moving into operations, we talk about our automatic aid agreement that's now into effect with Port Colborne, as well as some of the mutual aid activations that have gone on, where we have both received mutual aid and provided mutual aid, and also talked about the Oswego Bridge closure and how we have an agreement with Haldeman right now to provide coverage for that area. We also have a first quarter report, or the emergency incidents that we've responded to in the first quarter. And then also we go through apparatus and equipment, capital projects that are scheduled for this year to go through, and where we're at with that, and also some of the work that had been completed to date on the Central Fire Station project. And then lastly, we round out with the training that our regular firefighters have undergone both weekly and on weekends. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Motion, Fire Staff Report 05-2022, respecting 2022 first quarter fire and emergency services review, be received for information. Mover, seconder on that, please. Councillor McClellan, Councillor Cridland, and discussion. Questions to the Chief? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of that motion? That is carried. Thank you. Public Works Staff Report, and I'll look to Mr. Nand for that, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, through yourself and members of council. The first staff report is staff report number 8, 2022, respecting award of tender for 2 hybrid SUVs vehicles. As you're aware, 2021 approved budget included the purchase of 2 fleet vehicles for the upset limit of $64,000. As opposed to the traditional internal combustion engines, council directed staff to investigate the acquisition of hybrid vehicles. Staff prepared a tender package in accordance with procurement policies. Excuse me. And as a result of the tender opening on April 29th, we received 1 single bid. The results are attached, $37,963 per vehicle from Mike Knapp Ford for 2022 Ford Escapes. On May 3rd, just to advise council, after the close of the tender, we did receive a second bid in the office, but it was not clearly marked. And as such, staff were not unable to accept it as a condition of our procurement policy. It was submitted after the tender closing. Staff are recommending the council authorize the manager of operations to purchase the 2 hybrid SUVs from Mike Knapp Ford, being the only bid submission.
Thank you. Motion being Public Works Staff Report 008-2022, respecting award of the tender for 2 hybrid SUVs be received, and that council authorize the manager of operations to purchase 2 hybrid SUVs from Mike Knapp Ford, being the only bid submitted. Mover, seconder for that, please. Councillor McClellan and Councillor Gilmore. Questions? Councillor Van Vliet.
Through Mr. Mayor to Richard, I'm just wondering, a Ford Escape, is that going to be enough truck to get something that's needed for a 4x4? Because you had mentioned that some of the locations that it'll be going into, it needs to be almost like an all-terrain. That might be a little bit much, but is this going to have the clearance? And it's not really an SUV.
Yeah. Through your worship, the Ford Escape, these vehicles are also all-wheel drive versions. They're not four-wheel drive, but they're all-wheel drive versions, whereas the pickup trucks are actually lighter with a rear two-wheel drive system. They get stuck very easily. We're anticipating that the all-wheel drive will assist them enough to get to where they need to go.
Okay, anything further, Councillor Van Vliet?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, Councillor McClellan.
You, Mr. Mayor, I'm just, I'm not a big fan of accepting only one bid. I'm wondering if we shouldn't put this, I mean, 2 months ago or a month ago, there was a shortage of chips, there was a shortage of everything. I don't know if we put it out again. I hate to delay it, but the trucks we have are running, and I just like a little competition. I'm not a big fan of giving out $75,000 because nobody else bid it.
Okay. Want to make that motion, or?
Sure, I'll make it as a motion.
Okay. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Van Vliet? Okay, the motion being that we go back to the market again and seek further bids is what you're looking for?
Yes.
Okay, so it's moved by Councillor McClellan, seconded by Councillor Van Vliet. Is there a discussion on that? Councillor Cridlin. Councillor Cridlin. I get to say who goes first. Councillor Cridlin.
Thank you, Mayor. Just through you then back to Richard, in terms of any kind of delay that you could see operationally that this might cause. So again, your comments on the motion, please.
Okay. Through your worship, I mean, we've followed our procurement policy as directed by staff or directed by council. We've done the procedure. If council chooses to re-tender, then council has that right to do so. The vehicles that we currently have are still operational and still on the road, and they weren't planning on being taken out of service until such time as the new ones are put in service.
Okay, thank you. So we have that motion on the floor that we authorize. The first part is okay, where we received the report. The second part, the council authorized manager of operations to purchase 2 hybrid SUVs from Mike Knapp Ford, being the only bid submitted. We'll have to either vote this down or amend it, either or. So, Councillor Gilmore.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, just in comment to the motion that's actually on the floor, I don't know, I mean, you put it out there, I don't know how you make people bid. If they don't want to, they don't. It's not like you restricted anybody, just nobody did it. So I'm not sure what we expect the manager of operations to do.
What you would do,
unless you say, well, I put it out for a very short period, or which I don't think you did, because we're not in a hurry.
what that would do is include Toyota. It probably would rebid, I'm guessing. Richard?
Through your worship, I will also advise council, we did make phone calls to every dealership that are in the Niagara region that sells all the various vehicles. Some called back. Obviously, GM doesn't make a hybrid. They called back and said, thanks for letting us know, but we don't make one, so we won't be able to bid. But we had phone calls made by every other manufacturer, Chrysler, GM, Ford, Toyota, Hyundai, Kia. We've notified every dealer that makes any type of SUV close to a hybrid, that made them aware of the tender that was on the township website.
Okay. So the actual first motion on the floor is the one. Okay, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I might. So, Richard, having heard that, I guess the question would be, was there a timeline for a delivery on this vehicle? So I know there's a supply issue. It seems to be getting better. My only question is, you know, if you said we had to have the car by July 15th or the vehicles by August or a date and they couldn't meet it, maybe now the supply's there. If not, it is what it is. Let's just do it, right?
Through your worship, we did not put a delivery date or timeline on it because we knew the supply in the industry was rough. So we just left it as they can bid and a delivery date whenever they had availability.
So, Councillor McClellan, if that's where you want to go to simplify things, would you like to withdraw your motion? Thank you. That simplifies it. And so the motion that is on the floor is that council has received the report and the manager of operations purchased 2 hybrid SUVs from Mike Knapp Ford, being the only bid submitted. That is on the floor already. So any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Award for tender recreation tractor, Mr. Nan.
Through your worship, again, this is staff report 009, respecting the awarded tender for the recreation tractor. As approved by the budget, we had allotted $64,000 for this purchase. We prepared a tender package in accordance with the township's procurement policy. Again, we notified various manufacturers of the opportunity to bid on our website. Staff prepared the tender package and specifications to replace our 1960-ish John Deere, because we never could find out the actual build date of it. And unfortunately, again, we've received one result for a tender bid, and it was from Ben Berg Farm and Industrial Equipment for a 2022 L4701 Kubota tractor and land pride mower for $67,000.
Okay, thank you. So motion being that Public Works Staff Report 009-2022 respecting the award of tender for recreation tractor be received, and that council authorize the manager of operations to purchase a new compact utility tractor with loader and grooming mower from Benberg Farm and Industrial Equipment, being the only bid submitted. Mover seconder, please. Councillor Van Vliet, Councillor Gilmore. Any discussion on that? I see none. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, one more Public Works report, Mr. Nan.
Thank you, Worship. This is staff report 010-2022, award for engineering services for Bellevue Beach Road East, and Hill Avenue. As staff, or as council is aware of the damage that was sustained to Beach Road East during the various storms we received in the past couple of years. As we investigated the opportunity to try and improve things for the residents, we found that the road is skewed as in the road allowance area, and it doesn't allow for us to do any additional drainage. So major reconstruction has got to be done, and major improvements have to be done in the drainage to sustain those or to help those residents in those areas. Staff prepared a request for proposal for engineering services for the design and preparation of the tender documents in anticipating for the tender for construction in an upcoming budget year cycle. As the results of we performed the evaluation on the proposals. We had 2 proposals submitted, and during the evaluation process, the scoring sheet is available on your report. KT Howe Engineering scored 217 points out of a possible 300. Urban Environmental scored 239 points out of a possible 300. I also provided council with the project cost, because we also put in the actual cost for the engineering is attached, and KT Howe Engineering is $65,500, and Urban Environmental was $66,197. We also submitted as part of the proposal proposed costing for contract administration for when we do the actual construction phase, and we received bids from both submissions as well. And when you combine the quotes for engineering and contract administration, Urban Environmental came in at $136,297.25, and Kerry T. Howe came in at $180,000. So it's quite substantial increase in costing for the project administration. One of the anticipated costs we anticipated during this project is geotechnical testing. We anticipated $30,000 for that. So what we're proposing is that we award it to Urban Environmental for the design and contract preparation, as well as the administration. And then we can allow for the additional administration costs when we get to the project phase, because the contract administration won't take place until the contract is awarded anyways.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of Mr. Nan on this? Because there's a number of options available as well in the report on page 3, I think it is. So is there anything for discussion on that, Councillor Gilmore, before we put the motion on the floor?
Thank you,
Councillor
Mayor.
Gilmore.
Just regarding page 3, I'm just wondering, like in the options, every one of the 4 bullets reference the preparation of Marshville Drive reconstruction.
Through your worship, yeah, I apologize. I was actually plagiarizing some of my previous reports, and I was rushing to get this done because I was in the middle of planning a wedding for my daughter, and I was rushing out the door to try and get this report done. So I apologize, and I do recognize that the error. Marshville Drive is not the project we're seeking. It is actually for Beach Road East, Bellevue Beach Road, and Hill Avenue.
Well, I knew there'd be a valid reason why it was in there. I just couldn't figure it out. So thanks for that.
Okay, so is there any discussion on that in regards to any of those options other than what is recommended by staff? If not, I will read the motion as recommended by Mr. Nan, and we'll move forward. Okay, motion being report PWSR 10-2022 respecting award for engineering services for Bellevue Beach Road East, and Hill Avenue be received, and that council direct the manager of operations to engage the services of urban and environmental management to perform engineering services for the design for Bellevue Beach Road East, and Hill Avenue reconstruction. I have a mover seconder for that, please. Councillor Van Vliet and Councillor McClellan. Is there any other discussion on that? Okay, seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. And I look to Mr. Nan to speak on the memorandum for the Canada Games bicycle time trials.
Thank you, Your Worship, and to members of council. This was a last-minute report as staff were just made aware of a bicycle race that is taking place in the city of Port Colborne. The original Canada Games wasn't planning on hosting any events here in Wainfleet, and they've been planning this this bicycle race apparently for 2 years, and nobody even realized that it was coming into Wainfleet until last week. So as soon as we were made aware of it, we reached out to them directly to find out what exactly is involved and what the plans were. They've solidified the race, and it's already been certified, as the course has been certified already, so that's the plan for the race. I obviously wanted to make council aware that they're actually coming through the Township of Wainfleet. And one of the things we mentioned to the organizers is several things. I wanted to seek council's approval, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here tonight, to allow them to host the event, at least utilizing a couple of our roads, but also to make you aware that we're still in the early stages. I've advised them of several things, including that my counterpart sitting beside me here has to be involved in emergency plans, part of the race, because he wasn't aware of it until, I think, Wednesday when I told him. So he'll be meeting with emergency personnel, OPP, Niagara Regional Police, MTO. We've also asked them for an agreement that I could bring back to staff for review and legal review by our solicitor. And then again, having it signed and approved by council. So there's a lot of things that are going to be pretty quickly moving to try and get this accommodated for them. I was worried at first because I didn't even know what the run was, or the race was, if it was going to impact our construction project. But it is going to skirt the project, and when I had the pre-construction meeting with our contractor, they were made aware of it as well, so it may or may not affect the project, but they'll accommodate if need be. The race itself isn't like a normal marathon. It's a time trial race, so they'll be letting a racer go every 30 seconds to a minute, and then they'll run the course. They still have a lot of hurdles to climb, as they actually applied for a permit to close number 3 highway from the MTO. which I pretty much told them point blank, I wish you luck, but the chances are you're probably going to get a lane closure, if anything. So I don't know how they're skirting the permits yet, but I just wanted to make sure that everything from the township's perspective is covered for liability and everything else that we can do. We're anticipating very minimal participation. They have their parade marshals already in place, and they have for quite some time. Not sure exactly what the chief's going to require, and that'll be part of his discussion for the emergency planning. But we anticipate maybe just some equipment or some materials used for road closures. But we don't plan on having any staff requirements on site during these races. So it'll be minimal costing that we anticipate at this point. But again, we're still in early stages of negotiation, so I can't say much more than that because, like I said, we just found out on Tuesday, and then I advised the chief on Wednesday, and I apologize again, but I was planning a wedding for Saturday, so I was trying to get this council as quick as I can.
So I want to thank you then, Richard, because you had a wedding, and you obviously have done a lot of work on this in a very, very short period of time. So we very much appreciate your work on this. I know it was a rush job for you, and we're in the early stages, and you don't have all the information, but your enthusiasm for it and your report to us here is excellent, considering the very short period of time you had to work on it and go to a wedding. So congratulations, by the way, on the family member getting married. So, motion being the memorandum submitted by the Manager of Operations respecting Canada Summer Games bicycle time trials be received, and that Council support the bicycle time trial race on August 16, 2022, being organized by the Niagara 2022 Canada Summer Games and the City of Port Colborne, and that staff be directed to support and cooperate in the issuance of the appropriate permits and execute the appropriate plans, agreements necessary for the event. Mover seconder for that, please. Councillor Cridland, Councillor McClellan, and is there discussion? Councillor Cridland, go ahead.
Thank you. I'd just like to echo your comments for sure on our thanks. And maybe the Summer Games has got MVP awards that they'll be handing out, and we will be at the top of the list in Wainfleet for taking such good care of this event. Thanks again, Richard.
Through your worship, two members of council, I also just wanted to advise, one of the things that we preemptively gave them advice on was how we would definitely want all the residents notified, because basically there's going to be a time frame of 4 to 5 hours that they won't be able to have access to their properties during this whole race thing. I don't know what the plans were in Port Colborne, but I advised them that one of the processes we're going to be doing here is demanding that all residents be notified well in advance of the race so they can make alternate arrangements or at least come down the end of their driveway and enjoy it. But it's going to be causing some hardship for some of the residents. But again, it's part of the process that we'll be dealing with when we negotiate with them, is to ensure that all our residents are notified that could be affected.
And who knows, the route could change with MTO saying no to any kind of access. So it's fluid. We appreciate and we understand that. And motion is on the floor, moved and seconded. And further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Review of correspondence. We have none pulled. Anybody want to, any issues there? Okay, bylaws. The following bylaws be read and passed this 10th day of May, 2022. Bylaw number 2022 being a bylaw to establish estimates and tax rates for the year 2022. Bylaw 21, 2022 being a bylaw to protect, prohibit, regulate, and control municipally owned properties providing lakeshore access in the Township of Wainfleet. And bylaw number 22, 2022 being a bylaw to appoint a municipal bylaw enforcement officer for the Township of Wainfleet. Mover seconder for those bylaws, please. Councillor McClellan, Councillor Cridland. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. We'll now move to notices of motion, and I think there's a couple on that may be forthcoming, and notices of motion by anyone? Councillor McClellan.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and I hope I have these in the right order.
Right into your mic,
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, and I hope that I have these in the right order. So, what I have is that section 14.1.
Can't hear you, yeah, just a little
Okay,
closer.
sorry about that. Mic's on, so it should be here. That section 14.10C, procedural bylaw number 058-2019 be waived to allow council to consider a motion regarding new business not listed on the agenda respecting proposed amendments to penalties in Schedule B of the township's noise bylaw.
Okay, so we'll deal with that first. The first motion, notice of motion is to waive the procedural bylaw for us here, so we can deal with this immediately.
Yep.
So that's the motion. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Cridlin will second that. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none. Okay, all in favor of waiving the bylaw process so we can deal with that? And that is carried. Now, we move on to your motion.
The motion is that bylaw number 023-2022, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 042-2018, being a bylaw to regulate noise in the Township of Wainfleet, be read and wait, I got that right? So you want this one? Okay, sorry about that. I was afraid to get mixed up. The council consider an amendment to the township's noise bylaw number 042-2018 to increase the penalties on the following sections. Section 3.1F from $250 to $1,000. Section 4.1A from $75 to $1,000. Section 4.1B from $75 to $1,000. Section 4.1C from $75 to $1,000.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Gilmore seconds that, and now we'll look for discussion on it, please. Or you can speak to it first or at the end, your choice.
It's fine. The dollar value of 1,000 was a starting point. I don't know if we need to go higher or lower, but we've got a long weekend coming up, and our residents don't need to be dealing with unruly people. So if we give our bylaw officer a little bigger hammer to work with, that's the intention of this. So, feel free to kick it down, kick it up, do whatever you want to do.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cridlin.
Thank you. Through Mayor, I don't know if it's maybe too soon, but perhaps a staff member could perhaps talk to these kinds of numbers and where they, where to guide us with what's sort of being proposed at this point. If it's, maybe you'd like more discussion first, but I'll just put that out there.
I look to our planner, Lindsay Earl, to speak to it, please.
Sure, thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, the penalty fines, the monetary penalty fines cannot be punitive in nature. So depending on what the issue is that's being charged, we need to make sure that the penalty is sufficient in that charge. So going from $75 to $1,000 is significant, but at the same time, the charges that those would apply to, things like causing to permit noise, created by the surrounding of any, horns and motorized vehicles, and I was just going through the number of items that you had listed there, Councillor McClellan, may seem appropriate. Under the Provincial Offences Act, the maximum fines are typically $5,000 as a maximum, so I'll leave that up to council.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cridlin, carry on, please.
Thank you, through Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Earl. So in some of the other bylaws, we've had it where, a first offense and a second offense is the structure we use. So if we move from what we have here to opting for a first offense and a second offense, does that let us still stay in the schedule in terms of amending? So I think what I'm trying to learn, because we're just dealing with this today, is that we're not talking about the bylaw. We're just addressing how we're going to be treating penalties, with the hope that we can then take some immediate action, because we do know from earlier on that the licensing and the other types of options are going to be longer term. So anything we can do now that we can start to address some of the concerns we've heard through our open house. And I want to also thank everybody that gave us the input on the short-term rental open house. So there may be more than what's here. Maybe there's other bylaws and other penalty schedules that maybe there's enough here that we should just have it come back once with a set, and we look at everything that would be impacted. It's just, again, hard to decide what we would want to do just tonight.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McClellan.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, my point of view on this is, if there's somebody down here partying and there's a one-time trip here, a $75 bill is not enough to defer you from doing what you're doing. It's less than the cost of the night out on the town. So that was why I was trying to get it as high as it is at the get-go. And this is just the start. Before we're done, I would agree with you. We need to get Mark, Lindsay, and anybody else in staff to tell us what other tools they need to control this. But our biggest complaints from neighbors that call is the noise. That's why I wanted to try and give them this tool before the May 2-4 weekend. So
I'll jump in on this a little bit. $75 is, in today's world, is really nothing. It's like a quarter tank of gas. It's
yeah,
it's
really,
not
when
much.
you look at it, right?
I think $1,000 speaks to our belief that our Wainfleet residents need to be protected, and they shouldn't have to put up with the noise that we're all aware that some of them have. At this time, this is a first step. I personally believe the $1,000 is fine. $5,000 is the maximum, I believe. That is a true statement to somebody to stop the noise. $75 will do nothing, and so I personally support the $1,000. So, is there any other discussion? Councillor Van Vliet.
Yep.
Through Mr. Mayor to Lindsay, $1,000 fine, who is that assessed to? The person causing the noise or the property owner?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in this case, it's the AMPS bylaw, so it would be assessed to the property owner.
Thank you.
One thing to know as well here, chances are the bylaw officer, generally the first time you go by, you say, be quiet. So it's not like we just walk in the door and here's your $1,000 fine. I truly believe that usually a verbal warning is the first step in these situations, which often resolves the problem. If you come back an hour later and it's still rocking and rolling and the noise is still incredibly loud, that's when you put the $1,000 fine on them. And that should have the desired effect. It's about changing human behavior. So it's good to give that warning the first time. So it's not just here's a $1,000 bill. So, Councillor Cridlin.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. So again, the discussion obviously is helping. And of course, we have had really good success with trying the past issues when we've listened to the citizens and listened exactly to what the target problem is. So the parking got changed a couple times. So I think if we start with the numbers that we've got and it isn't getting the changes that we need, we'll be looking at again. So parking, we started at a certain place and eventually got there. So I'm not sure if there's anything else in terms of the concerns, but if $1,000s fine for everybody else on council, I think I can support that as well then.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Councillor Gilmore?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I support this as well. And I think it also begs a fulsome review of the entire bylaw for, incorporate these changes, look at all the rest of them, and let's have another look. But this gets us covered right away for the problems that we already know exist, and maybe some of the other ones need to get jacked up too.
I agree. We had to start somewhere, so that's why I grabbed this one.
Right. Okay, so on that motion, do we need it repeated? No. Everybody's got that from $75 to $1,000 on the noise bylaw. It's moved, seconded, it's on the floor. All in favor? Oh, sorry, I didn't see you. Go ahead, Councillor Craylin.
Thank you. Just to continue before we close the discussion, and based on Councillor Gilmore's comments, can we give staff direction then to immediately look at the other ones from the comments, that we know that there's other areas that are second to the noise and third and fourth, and bring back those ones at staff's earliest opportunity so that we can work and implement those this summer as needed? Does that need to be a motion? Or?
That direction is given.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
One question. We passed the beach bylaw tonight as well, right? So there's some decent fines in there. Can they also be used along a residence? Or is that only on the beach? Okay, okay. So, yeah, we definitely got to do some more homework here.
Okay. All in favor of that motion? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. And you have one more, Councillor McCall?
Okay, so I'm just going to make a notice of motion for the next council meeting that there will be one for the animals at large, loose animals.
Thank you.
So that's it.
True notice of motion. You have one more bylaw?
Okay, the two-pager.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. The Corporation of Township of Wainfleet being bylaw number 2022.
We can have the clerk read it if
Okay.
you want.
Yeah, okay.
Let the
Go
clerk
ahead.
can read it if you want.
Do you have it? I have it. Okay.
Go ahead, clerk.
So that bylaw number 23, 2022, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 42, 2018, being a bylaw to regulate noise in the Township of Wainfleet, be read and passed this 10th day of May, 2022.
Mover, seconder, Councillor Cridlin, Councillor Gilmore. Discussion. All in favor? That bylaw is carried. Thank you. Any more? Good. Excellent. Good work, everybody. Okay, we'll now look at going back into closed session. Motion being that council now move into closed session to discuss number A, item under 234-2E of the Municipal Act 2001, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. One item, an update on a litigation matter. Item B, under Section 234-2K of the Municipal Act 2001, a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. One item, a negotiation matter. Item C, item under Section 234-2C of the Municipal Act 2001, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. One item, an acquisition of land matter. And number D, minutes of the closed meeting of council held March 8th, 2022 and April 5th, 2022. Mover, seconder for that, please. Councillor Gilmore, Councillor Cridlin. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of moving into closed session, unanimous. We are moving into closed